Mag-driver, sweet lover. Sa BTS, mag-driver, bayaning tsuper. Mag-driver, sweet lover. Sa BTS, mag-driver, bayaning tsuper.
Tayo'y babiyahe tungo sa kinabukasan. Malaya sa sakuna ang bawat daraanan. Ligtas na kalsada, malinaw na pag-asa. Sa BTS, ang partido ng mga bayaning tsuper. Bayanan ng lansangan, ikaw ay iingatan. Ihahatid ka ng ligtas sa iyong paroroonan. Protektado ka sa mga magigiting na tsuper. Umulan umaraw, masasandalan parang pader.
Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to our weekly ARCHIPRENEUR Kabahayan at Kabuhayan. Solo flight po tayo ngayon. Wala po yung partner ko, si Architect Alfred Carandang. But partner, I'm sure nanonood ka. Hello and good afternoon. So for those of you first who will be your first time to tune in to our podcasts, welcome. You can also like and subscribe us sa Facebook or sa YouTube natin channel Vantage Point Media. And today, wow, we are surrounded and honored by our two special guests, no? So they're actually from the academe. We have two powerhouse guests. So to introduce our first guest, hindi na ako magpapatumpik-tumpik pa. So our first guest, si Architect Nikki. She started her career in 2008 as an architect and project manager. Architect Tayag worked on diverse projects across residential, commercial, institutional, and hospitality sectors. In 2011, she took a transformative step by pursuing an MFA in lighting design at Parsons, the new school for design in New York. Returning to the Philippines, she integrated her experience in architecture into the emerging field of architectural lighting. So take note for those of you who want to pursue a career in lighting. So it's a discipline still considered pioneering in the local context. As a founder of the 33rd and 3rd Architectural Lighting Design, she has played a crucial role in shaping innovative design solutions. She collaborates with industry professionals, including architects, interior designers, product designers, landscape architects, and engineers. Architect Nikki blends extensive experience from architecture and design into her academic leadership. Navigating the nuanced realms of design, she brings a rich and holistic perspective to the academe. Her local and international experience, coupled with a commitment to fostering excellence in education, reflects a dedication to providing students at Enderun colleges, where she is currently the Dean of the College of Architecture and Design, with profound insights into the dynamic intersection of these interconnected disciplines. Architect Nikki Escalona-Tayag, welcome. Bati po muna.
Hello, good afternoon. Thank you for having me. Very happy to be here.
All right, thank you. And our next distinguished guest na hindi naman magpapahuli. Okay? So, ano mga age daw before beauty. All right. So, Architect Chona, or Dean Chona, is the Dean of the College of Architecture at National University. She is a registered architect and certified Verde professional. She graduated with a BS degree in architecture, has a master's degree in architecture, major in community architecture, and a PhD in education, major in curriculum studies. Ever since she started as a dean back in 2013, the NU College of Architecture program has grown from 300 students to its current population of around 1,100 students, including its extension in NU Fairview, NU Laguna, and NU Baliwag. It is also under her leadership that National University celebrated a win with architect Sean Blanco as the 2022 January Architect Licensure Examination top-notcher. So she has been practicing architecture and also an urban planner for more than 40 years. Dapat di na binibigkas yung ano to, no? She has done work with some of the country's leading architecture, planning, and design firms, as well as worked as a consultant in various government aid projects through consultancy companies. She presently holds several positions in different organizations. Many students look up to Dean Chona as a leader, an educator, and a mentor. Through her hard work and passion for architecture, she is helping future architects and nation builders gear up for their success. Welcome to Archipreneur, Dean Chona. Bati po kayo.
Good afternoon, correction lang. We now have 8 NU branches
Wow.
offering BS Architecture and 4 more to come this
Wow.
coming school year.
Kailangan pala ma-edit yung research namin.
Correct.
All right, so welcome everybody. So I hope na meron kayong kung may mga phone-in questions kayo, feel free to send us a message. All right. So okay, first question. So I guess we always want to look back where we all started. So I guess the first question is, so why architecture and why are you where you're at now? And if there was like a bit of inspiration, so to speak, please share your journey, where it all began.
Me first?
Beauty.
Yeah. I think it was always, an interest of mine. I think I always wanted to get into, a creative industry from when I was, very young. But I think the journey for me wasn't necessarily like the journey for other architects, where from the day they were born, they knew exactly that they wanted to do it. So it was kind of like a process to me. But when I was already there, I saw the different avenues that I could take. And I was very privileged because I knew from the get-go where I wanted to be. I knew I wanted to practice as a designer. I wanted to stay in the creative industry. I wanted to get into business one day. And I also knew that I wanted to take on further studies one day, hopefully, abroad. And that's where it kind of led me. After my stint in college and working and the board exams and everything, I knew that there was something missing. So that's when I pursued further studies. And that was really the time in my life when I knew, wow, this is the industry that I wanted to be a part of. This is where I felt really me and authentic. And so I was very grateful for that. But when I was living abroad, I realized that I still wanted to go back home and start my practice there, and try to give back to my industry as well, especially because I took on a specialization that was really not very known at that time. Parang, I remember when I came back, there were only 6 or 7 of us practicing in the industry with that kind of specialty. And I knew that it was very important for me to kind of give back to the industry and show that, hey, this is a very important aspect of architecture. And so that's how it was. I started practicing when I came back from New York. I was very fortunate to have had doors open for me, and clients really trust in me and the work that I was delivering. And then by chance, without really thinking that I wanted to get into education, never, and Ma'am Chona knows that, never did I think about it or dream of it. A friend of mine said, oh, why don't you teach this class? It's just an elective. Para siyang short course lang in this other school. And try mo lang because you might like it. They're looking for someone with your background. And so I tried it and I had fun. It was so enjoyable. My students were great. They were smart. They were so interactive. So I had a very positive experience. And then I did it again. So parang it was like a bug that bit me. That I did it again. And then when things got busy, I had to pause and had to prioritize, my work and my practice. But during the pandemic, when things kind of slowed down, I got a call from Enderun colleges, and they had told me that they had just launched a new program, and they were looking for people in the industry who would be willing to teach. And so I said, sige, I'll give it a chance kasi nag-enjoy naman ako dati. Why not, right? Just give it a chance. And the rest is history. I started as a teacher first. I was really just an adjunct faculty, just teaching on the side. And then I think it was after about a year and a half or so when I was asked to take on the role of Dean for the College of Architecture and Design. And so far so good. The trajectory has been good. We're growing. We're much smaller than NU, obviously, but we hope to get there. Baby steps for us. So I think that's it in a nutshell.
All right. Ma'am.
How did I get here? I think I was in our neighborhood. There were 5 architects in our neighborhood. So, laking kali ako. So, I would always visit their houses. And then I saw models, working models. And then I said, I want to do that also. So, in high school, our annual, the yearbook, I already indicated there, I want to be a great architect. And then my classmates now in high school then, they told me, you're the only one who knew what you wanted to do when we were still in high school. But actually, so when I was in college already, my best friend, she was supposed to take music at UP. And then she said, okay, I will study in UST na lang so we can be together. But I also like music. So on my 3rd year, I was into choral singing. My sister is a soloist of magical singers. I was exposed to classical music. My brother-in-law was the only Filipino to win in the Luciano Pavarotti competition. So that was my exposure. So I said, I want to shift to music. But my sister said, in music, as you grow older, nalalaos ka. In architecture, as you grow older, you're like wine. So, okay, so I said, okay, I will finish my architecture. So, I finished. And then, so I kept on working, but as I've mentioned to my faculty, I never asked for a promotion. Everywhere I work, they would always promote me. So at the age of 23, I just got my license as an architect. I was already managing the office. So the office of Nikki Einsedel then, there were only 3 until it grew to about 25 people. But I said, after 2 years, I said, I already knew what to do in the office. Parang I'm bored already. So I wanted to study more. I want to learn more. So I transferred to another firm, and then there was I was the parang managing partner na. I was only 25 years old, and then we had a project with JICA, so consultancy projects already. And then I gave birth. So I said, I will not work while my children are growing up. So it was when my son, the youngest one, was 7 years old. So I said, I'm ready. And then I had a business. And then something happened to the business. So I said, I guess sometimes God pushes you where you really should be.
Yeah.
And then my brother-in-law said, there's an opening in FEU. They need a faculty. So I said, I will pray about it because I've never thought before and it was not in my plan. So I said, I'll pray about it. And then he said, you already have an appointment with the dean. And then when I went to FEU, the dean was my design professor, Terror Maluventura. And in our class, I was the only one who got, I think, 1.5. Everybody else got 2 point something. So it was not an interview. I left. She gave me 30 plus units.
Wow.
So it was my first time to teach. So of course, for any job, you have to learn, right? So, and thank God, I always got the Teaching Excellence Award. At that time, that was about 20,000 pesos in 1990s. late 1990s. So it was a big amount. And then I said, I will take my master's. At first, I said, no, I will not take my master's. Because what for if you just wanted to design, etc. But I said, if I'm going to teach, I have to take my master's. Supposed to be in UST. And then I was at the counter of the outside the registrar's office. Nobody was going out and nobody was going near the window. 5 o'clock, somebody closed the window. Miss, wait, I will enroll. This is my, oh no, it's already 5 o'clock. She kept insisting it was already 5 o'clock. So I said, I've been here 4:30 and nobody was here by the window. So I tore the registration form and then somebody said, why don't you try UP? And it's really funny because God really opened everything. When I went to UP, the dean said, oh yes, anything I can do for you. And then we were already talking, there was a guest, and then he even offered me refreshments, and then he said, oh, by the way, did I get your name? So I was already enrolled in UP. And then I said in FEU, okay, they offered, I was a college secretary in FEU after a year. And then, so I said, I finished already my master, so I want to be a regular faculty. And then the dean just gave me 9 units. And then I saw Architect Bonaobra in one of the conventions. And then I said, is there an opening in UST? So he said, oh, you go to UST. You already have your master's, right? Okay, yes. So when I went to UST just to submit my resume, they said, oh, we're already interviewing. Don't leave, so just stay. And then, it was another kwento lang. It was not an interview.
Yeah.
Basta at the end of the interview, they said, are you willing to give up FEU? Okay, fine. So, long story short, after a year, I was the acting college assistant dean. And then, I became the acting dean. Acting
When I
because
came, that was when I started.
Acting because I was not yet a regular faculty. So and then anyway, so after my stint as dean, I continued to work again in Palafox Associates. So I was the partner. And then finally, when I was doing my dissertation, I told Architect Palafox that I am resigning or retiring. And then he asked me, why do you prefer education over practice? So I said, sir, our industry is so corrupt. I cannot do anything about it. But with the students, I can still do a lot. So, well, he understood. So he let me go. So here I am. And then NU called. And then they asked if I want to be the dean. Intriga pa yun because I applied daw. So sabi ko, I never applied. The last time I applied was for a teaching position in UST. That was a long time ago. And then the president said, you can do everything here. We will support you. So at the time, Alfred was also teaching in NU. So there were only 12 faculty members. So long story short, after 12 years, actually our population now is 1,600, and we're also offering BS Environmental Planning, and I have 107 faculty members, and then all of the NU branches, almost all, wanted to have or to open a BS Architecture program. So that's why we already have 8 branches, and then 4 more this coming school year. So thank God, because I guess we did something good. That's why we were able. And every time they open, there's always about 3 or 4 sections of freshmen. So because we're, just like SM.
You got it all.
Yeah.
It is an SM company.
It is an SM
The tuition is affordable because the goal of the family is education should be inclusive. It should be accessible to everybody, not just for people in Manila, but for people outside Manila as well. So there should be the same quality of education.
So we kind of covered 2 questions at
Yeah.
the same time, but
Yeah.
but it's okay. Kasi parang I want to touch on both your experiences that when you were working, di ba? Kasi sabi nga ni Dean Chona, medyo corrupt yung industry natin, ano? Hindi naman yan ang pag-uusapan natin, no? But parang what did you see in terms of the making changes, no? Like parang whether it was in the office or sa school, ano ba yung parang main motive ninyo to for change in terms of what was it like an experience or was it something that you felt, diba? What made you because you said it was a bug that bit you, diba? But what was the back? Tell us more about what that bug was all about.
Yeah, so I think early on when I was in college, I knew right away that design wasn't just about pretty things and drawing things. And I thank my background and my orientation because my family is in business. So my orientation has always been, deeply rooted in business. And I knew when I was in college that design was a business at the end of the day. You really couldn't move forward unless you had clients that you served. And I think what was missing for me throughout the 5 years was the lessons behind that. Everything was technical, design, the math, the engineering aspect of it, the professional practice. But we really only scratched the surface when it came to understanding that design was really a business. So I thought that was really lacking. And in my practice specifically, when I was starting out as a young architect, during my practice, I realized how little I knew about certain things. And I think the same for all, because you really learn when you're practicing. And like Ma'am Chona, from the get-go, at 23 years old, 24 years old, I was also given projects that I had to handle on my own. So at a young age, I was kind of forced to go to the project coordination meetings. I go to the site by myself without my senior there and really representing the company. And that company that I worked for was a small company. So the projects that we had were a variety of small scale, medium scale projects, and even big ones like residential development. So in a way, I felt also very intimidated because here I was in my early 20s and I was tasked to do all these things I had really very little knowledge about. So I think, and I share this with my students all the time, I became hungry for knowledge because I realized I knew so little. I really knew just a portion of it, and that's what made me want to pursue further studies. That was when I realized, okay, I have to consider other things. Hindi lang pwede ito, and really try to go beyond the textbook. But yeah, I think that's what it was. And the bug that bit me was really what I didn't realize. You know how they say na when you don't dream about it or when you don't really plan it in your life, almost always you end up doing it. So I never really wanted to teach. It was never in the pipeline for me. But because of this chance experience, or someone suggested, I think you would be a good fit for this. And then I tried it, and then they said, you seem like a natural, why don't you do it again? And then I just kept doing it and doing it and doing it until nasanay na ako. And then I enjoyed it, and it was a bug that bit me because every time I teach or every time a semester finishes or wraps up, I get emotional about it. I don't know, maybe it's the parent in me, but I get emotional about it because it's like, wow, parang I did something that made a positive impact somehow.
Yeah. Madam?
Ano ang question?
ano ba yung motivation na nagpa-udyok sa'yo na parang I prefer teaching over ano?
Actually, I did not prefer teaching over practice. It has to be balanced.
Balance.
Okay.
Agree,
So
yeah.
the whole time that I was teaching, I was also working in an architecture firm. And even with the faculty, I always get a faculty with practice.
Exactly.
So I don't want the school book
course, yeah.
faculty. So I want them to be practicing as well. So that's what happened. And then my first employer, actually, when I graduated, of course in college, diba, we need to work already. Even during college, third year pa lang, we have to do apprenticeship. But this one, after graduation, you know how I applied? I will look at the phone book and then, oh, this is near our place. I will call. First call, okay, come here and apply. My first employer was Architect Jordan. He was a graduate of NU. I was the only one in the office. So he taught me everything. You should have a ruler beside you, a metro, and then everything, all of the construction details, which I never learned in college. So, and then he would also bring me to site. Okay, we have excavation today, ganyan, ganyan. So, after I worked with him for 2 years, I already knew everything about construction, design, and even bid documents. So I said, if I will become a teacher, I don't want my students to experience what I experienced for the 5 years that I think parang puro lakwatsa lang kami na. Okay, walang prof, let's go to the cinema. Okay, so this time, I wanted the students to not to experience what I have experienced and to give them more so that the curriculum should be enriching for them.
Yeah.
And then in my PhD, my advisor said, so why are you teaching them this software? Is that what is being practiced or used in the actual work? Oh, I said, no. So why are you teaching that? So it should be what they are using in the practice. Okay, so that's it. So, and then, of course, you meet friends, and then they tell you, you know, in ganito, ganito, this is what they do. And then I met my classmate in college, and then her daughter graduated from Cardiff Architecture also. So she said, you know, Chona, how you teach is also how we were taught in college. So parang, hello, it was what? 30 years ago, and you're still teaching the same. So I said, yeah. I find it so it's like doing a design. You see the best practices and then you see what not to do, right?
Correct.
So what will you do?
Yeah.
Just because you were not taught this, so the student should also experience that. So of course you get the best practices, and hopefully the students will learn a lot from these best practices. So that's my motivation, and it's so I feel so good when I see my former students top the board exams, very good practice now, famous, etc. So parang it's better than building a 50-story building, because this will multiply what you taught to this student, and then eventually he will also share to other people. So that's the most enriching part. So when I transferred to NU, Father Ru of UST was
Upset.
He was upset.
I bet.
So I said, you know, Father, at this point, I'm already looking for what I can impart, parang legacy na.
Legacy.
It's not anymore about getting more money, financial benefits. It's not anymore about that. But what do I leave to the students? And also, how will I support the practice of the future architects? So, parang yun na yung, that's what I've been thinking. So, we have this partnership with another NGO. So it's like a mentorship program for graduates of architecture school. So we have 20 interns from different parts of the country. And then we introduce them to some of the big names in architecture. So I said, this is what we're missing. The gap between graduation and taking the board exam. Kasi parang we just leave the students, okay, so just go
Bahala
to
na
this
kayo.
company, apprentice, ganyan-ganyan. But this program, it's like a leadership program. So I said, thank God, because I won in the UAP. So I said, now I can connect from the students, UAPSA to UAPGA to UAP. So I think because right now, we cannot just let them decide for themselves because
Yeah.
they do not know what
they
they're
want.
missing,
Exactly.
what they want. So hopefully, we can make better future architects.
It's funny na yung mga sinasabi ninyo din is like a precursor to my next question, no? But yung talk about legacy and talk about parang how students look at architecture na parang sinasabi nila yung incubation or yung gestation period to becoming somebody who knows and is more confident about the practice to somebody parang sobrang tagal daw, 'di ba? Minsan ang biro nila parang mas mabilis pa maging doktor, 'di ba? But tell us more about like parang compared to like Enderun is perceived to be like a not just a new player but parang a more technologically advanced university, no, in that sense, versus na parang
Parang
national
public school.
NU, not really, but parang some traditions with
Yeah.
innovations,
Right.
no? So I guess from your own perspective, what can you say about yung mga na overwhelm or na intimidate na estudyante, no, about being parang sobrang tagal ng gestation period?
For me, I always tell them, kasi sinabi nga din nila yon, that it's like you have to take it for 5 years and then you have to do 2 years apprenticeship before you take the board exams. And the board exams, sometimes you study for 3 to 6 months depending on you and your pace, diba? Tapos hihintayin mo yung results ng board exam. So para kang nagdoktor, para kang before ka nag-specialization in the field of medicine. But I think that if it's something that you really... if you're really passionate about it and if it's something that you really love to do, and it's really ingrained in you, you will be patient enough And I think after the 5 years, you really will not be confident to take that board exam. So, okay na rin that there's that apprenticeship for
Correct.
2 years. And I always tell the students, especially now that we're graduating our pioneer batch. Can you imagine our pioneer batch of architecture students will be graduating this July and they're in the thick of their thesis towards the end na. And they're all nervous about the next steps ahead and it's another 2 years or 3 years, ganyan. And I just tell them that, you just have to be patient because if you get out of college next month, you yourself will not want to take that board exam yet. You don't know enough yet. So really use the next 2.5 years to immerse yourself, to really get into the thick of things, get on the ground with whatever firm you're part of, small or big. And that entire gestational period, I think you just embrace it. Anything worth it naman at the end of the day. Sometimes it will take time, but at the end of the day, it's really worth it. But to that, no, kasi Enderun has always been perceived to be a different player, new player in the game, medyo shaking things up a bit. And what attracted me about the Enderun program, as opposed to the more traditional route in other universities, because I was also asked to teach in my alma mater, but I had to say no because after my experience abroad and here, I just had a different perspective about architecture and education, and I think that's a good thing. And so the way we run things in the institution is we're very progressive and we lean into technology, we lean into sustainability, we lean into jobs of the future, AI, BIM, and all of that, coming into play. But yeah, I think that entire period, the 7 years, 8 years, it's still honestly not long enough, especially pag nag-umpisa ka to study for the boards, because I would say 80-90% of the board exam questions are really based on practice.
Correct.
So if hindi ka naka-practice, wala, hindi ka talaga papasa, or it will take a while, or
Yeah.
you'll have a difficult time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It really is a very long journey. Our students are so much different from their students because I asked them when they apply for college, I asked them to write an essay. Not actually just so I will know why they took up architecture, but also to see if they're good in English, etc., grammar, composition, etc. Most of them, it's funny, my granddaughter, she was high school then, Lola, can I read? And then she said, okay, I will summarize. They all say the same thing. They want to build a home for their families, their parents, because they're so poor. Some of them are just children of vendor, driver, mechanic, etc. So that's their dream, to build a home. But of course, there will be some who will say, oh, I want to build, etc., etc. So there's a father who came. He was from the fire department somewhere in the south. And then I asked the son if he wants to take environmental planning, because he was not good in drawing. But he's very good in writing. So I said, you might want to consider environmental planning. So he came because he wanted to enroll already. But the father said, no, I want him to be an architect. It's different to have a title, architect, ganyan. Because environmental planning is not heard of yet. And so I told him, you know how many environmental planners are needed now in the country compared to architects na, although I always tell them, actually we're not teaching the students now for local employment alone. So it's really for international. So we have also graduates who are doing work here, but the companies are from Singapore, so it's like a BPO of design, sort of. So even if they say, okay, it will take so long, you know, our talent is so good. They took our students and then they said, we will offer internship for green architecture. And then, you know, after the 1 month program, intensive internship, one of them, when she graduated, she was already taken in as a sustainability expert, consultant.
Wow.
So I said, oh no, she might not take architecture anymore. She might not take the architecture board anymore because there's so much need now for sustainability experts.
Correct.
So at least now they see that there are so many options in architecture. So and we are exposing them to the possibilities of, it's not, architecture is not just design, it's not just construction, but the meat of the design, even research. So now we have students, we change our thesis into more research based. So we have colloquia. And then you'll be surprised, the students submitted their research in Japan. 3 of them got their works accepted in Japan. For our environmental planning students, there are only 8 for the 3rd year. All of their papers were accepted in international Scopus indexed fora. So imagine the students, if you did not expose them to this, how would they know that they're capable of doing research? So, and especially now in our school, they encourage everybody, not encourage, they require everybody to do research. It's actually do research or perish, publish or perish. So if you want to get promoted, okay, where's your research? And not just research, but it has to be published. So it's been like that. So everybody now is encouraged to do the research.
Now let's talk about professional practice, because when I guess our generation, when we professional practice was very not that popular, di ba? Kaya sinasabi na ng mga arkitekto hindi daw magaling na negosyante, di ba? I remember yung panahon ko, some of my colleagues were saying na makakuha ka lang ng negosyo pag marunong ka magpatakbo ng negosyo, di ba? Or di ba? And minsan may mga maaarte tayong mga kasamahan na kasama sa profession na they also, they parang pinapasa na lang sa mga
Yes.
accountants and whatever. What advice would you give to, aspiring architects or even those who are still in school, with regards to PP nga? Okay, I remember being Bonaobra was my prof in professional practice, di ba? And I felt it was not emphasized enough back then. So I guess, what are your views on professional practice?
Oh, this is very big for me because this was one of the subjects in college that I was personally that I personally took on as wow. This was really kulang for me. And I think back then, PP was more focused on building laws, standards of practice, how to set up your own business. That's all well and good. So, kunyari, if you want to do sole prop, this is where you go. If you want to do a corporation, kailangan registered sa SEC. So, all of that. But again, that's very by the book eh. So, the way we handle PP, at least in Enderun, is very global. But we also do a very localized version of it. So yes, you have to know the basic, the theoretical, and then find a way to insert yung real world scenarios. But we have a international partnership with UCLA. We have an academic partnership with UCLA. And we embed certain topics specifically on design thinking and design entrepreneurship into our curricula. And what's nice about that is the students learn from a local perspective. If you want to start your own company here, this is how you do it. It's as simple as putting together your resume correctly, putting your profile out there, opening up your network so that you can actually get clients and retain clients. And at the same time, opening you up to opportunities abroad. So if you wanted to go out, you go to the US or you go to Europe, this is how they do it there. So it gives them that, global perspective as well. But I think what's really missing is the practice aspect of it. Kasi when you go into your internship, or even after you finish your 5 years and then mag 2 years ka na, you don't do the business stuff.
Yeah.
When you're starting, you're doing the back end stuff. You're doing the details. You're doing site visits. You're meeting with suppliers. You're checking quotations and proposals and comparing them and liaising with others. So you don't really see that. So yun yung I think yung kulang. So I think that it would benefit also the students when they go off on their internships. The school really coordinates well with the firm, whoever that will be, whoever the partners are, and really align what the goals are for their internship so that it's holistic. So if it's your first internship or your second internship, you already completed 2 levels of professional practice or business management in architecture, then maybe a few hours of your internship is devoted to the back end, writing proposals, reviewing proposals, refining them, going into the details of business development. Because those were never taught to us. So you just kind of learn it. Like, how do I land my first client? And then how do I retain my client? How do I get referrals? How do I get my name out there? Lahat yan wala. There's opportunity seeking, I think, is a very important aspect of business in design. And a lot of people don't know how to seek out opportunities. How do you build your name? How do you take care of your brand? All of those Tas parang it's always on the side.
Yeah.
It's always on the side. So, magaling ka nga na designer, magaling ka nga na architect, but if you don't know how to market yourself, how do you get the clients, diba? So I think huge part of our ethos. Enderun has primarily been a business school as well, apart from the other programs and offerings that we have in hospitality and culinary. People always forget, that's the culinary school in BGC. Why do you have architecture? Why not? Why not? Because most of the culinary and hospitality graduates start their own shops and businesses and restaurants one day, and we are huge. We are big players in that whole process, diba? So it's actually very natural to have an architecture and interior design program. But yes, I think professional practice in business management is really not as touched on as I would like.
I think we're lucky because in college we had accounting subjects. Just the balance book. I think I got a grade of 1 in that subject. But when I was, as I've said, I was already managing the company, the office when I got there. So even the payroll, when the accountant is absent, I have to prepare all of the payroll of everybody. So I have this chart from SSS, how many deductions, etc., and then the tax. And then, even the bills that I will request from the bank, wala bang ATM nun. So, it has to be itemized. How many 100s, how many 50s. So, even their envelopes, I will do everything. And then, later on, when I was already in Palafox, I was doing all of the contracts. So, it was really by practice because you finally realize that even the big names in companies, sometimes the accountants are the ones who stole from the company. So that's the sad part. So if you do not understand your business, so when I got in Palafox, when I came back again, so I said, so how come we have enough income and yet they say that we're still deficit? So when I checked, I studied the books. So I said, okay, I think we need to bring in Mrs. Palafox. So somebody has to check on them regularly because nakakalusot eh. So I think the accountant before was still in jail, is still in jail because somebody dropped a note on the suggestion box. Why don't you look at the lifestyle of this person? She's the only one working in the family, but she has a new van, the house is being renovated, etc., etc. So when they found out, so at that time, she was adding 10 to the check. So meron siyang cahoots in the bank.
Meron siyang in cahoots, yeah.
So if you do not understand your business and just trust them, so you really have to, just like how the Chinese does their business, right? You have to be, you should be the one holding the kaha, right?
Correct.
So you cannot just delegate it to everybody. So that's what I also appreciate with NU, because our checks still has to go through BDO, etc., etc. And then I said, if they did not do it this way, I know there are some schools that are bankrupt because the same because of the business sense. So I guess it's really important for the students. So sometimes we have the accounting for dummies.
That's nice.
Activity seminars also, and financial management for students as well, because their priorities when they have money.
Yes, exactly. Yes, and I think financial literacy is so important, diba? Especially at that age. They're kind of in between knowing what they want and not really knowing what they want. So they're looking for their teachers to really coach and mentor them. It's at the back of their minds though, because ang priority talaga nila is to be good designers. But yun nga, I don't wanna rain on their parade. I don't wanna be too practical for them. So we just try to help them in whatever way we can.
Just like parenting, you have to expose them to everything and then let them decide.
Yeah, they're old enough to decide eventually. All right, so we've covered a lot of ground. I guess a hot topic now is that when we were in school, in PP they always tell us, when you design, you cannot be the one to build your project, diba? And I remember my father was always telling me, well, it's either I follow this ethical procedure or process or we starve, diba? So and then now there is now a move to allow architects to practice the DBS, design build services. What are your respective directions in terms of design build? Kasi some students look at parang architecture as parang ang liit lang ng kita compared sa
True.
construction, di ba? How do you shape their minds when it comes to and also as a closing message, di ba? What can you tell our students or future or just mga newly grads about building their own projects?
Yeah, I feel like there's always gonna be opportunity for design build architects and professionals. I'm not necessarily against it. I grew up having actually our family business is construction. It's been around for 40 years, but I could have gone into construction. I mean, I feel like I'm always welcome there, but I never did join. Cousins and other relatives are involved, but I never did join because I really love design so much that I didn't want to lose track of being a designer. Kasi pag nandyan ka na, builder ka na. Parang Lego na lang yan. You don't actually get to design it so much. But I see in the practice of my peers and my friends who are very successful in design and build. And what's nice about their practices is that they have the perspective of someone technical on the side because they know what's happening day in and day out, the operations, the logistics side, the technical aspects. And they marry it with their knowledge of design and what works, what doesn't work, what solutions do we need to try today that could possibly work versus the ones we tried before that didn't. And every site is different. So again, you have to put it in different contexts. But I am for it. I would encourage students to look into it. But there was a time when it became a conflict of interest. But
Correct.
I think that's really coming from a space of not being so open-minded about it. And we do know that the architectural practice, you don't really reap the benefits financially until after so many years of
Correct.
practice.
Correct.
So you have to look at it na parang, paano kung may family? Paano kung may pinapaaral? This is another avenue. This is another income-generating avenue for the person. Why would you dissuade him or her from that? So I think that's one way to look at it. I think it's tricky though because there are some people, and I'm not gonna name names, but I know this happens. Na they don't anymore charge for design.
Yeah.
They don't anymore charge, or the design fee is so
very
minimal,
small.
very dismal na parang giveaway na lang.
Bawiin
Parang
na lang sa
kunin-
construction.
babawiin nila in the construction aspect. So for me, that's where it gets, it tends to become, medyo parang unfair. Kasi yung competition mo, hindi na talaga kayo on the same
At par.
level. You're not at par anymore. And my design services, though I don't have construction in it, how can I even compete with you
Yeah.
now? So I think what happens there is, okay, what makes your proposition more valuable or more distinct versus mine? So dyan yung negotiation with the client, right? And again, they don't teach that in college. So that's where, how you sell yourself in a way, how you show the client that you can that you can be trusted versus someone who's offering you a much smaller fee versus what you're there to offer.
Yeah.
Actually, if you're a good construction manager, you can earn a lot.
Yeah.
But if you're not, you can lose a lot. So negative pa.
Yeah.
So may learning curve
Yes.
before you can master construction.
Yes.
And yun nga, as you said, so sometimes there's a conflict. Ako, I did that, but the sad part is the emotional part. When I have to ask an older person to resign because he's not functioning well, I cannot sleep at night. So I said, okay, I will just leave construction to other people. I cannot take the emotional side of it. Plus, sometimes the clients will ask your workers to do some things which are not within the scope, and then will say, oh, you're already out of the timetable. So I said, oh no, I would rather lose a client than lose a friend.
Right.
So if it really has to be good management,
Yeah.
actually. So I hope that the students or even the new architects will not have to do the trial period before they master construction, because it's really a different animal.
Yeah.
With design, we can just it's so easy for us. It's so basic for us. But with construction, because as they say, the devil is in the detail. So a lot of this, if you're wise, you can really earn a lot from
Yeah.
construction.
Ayan.
I think the people who are in construction have to be very good with their people skills.
Yeah.
I think that's number one, kasi you're not necessarily just managing a project, you're managing people. And sometimes it's hundreds of people
Yeah.
from all walks of life. So you need to know how to calibrate between talking to the mason, talking to the carpenter, and then talking to the client later on at the end of the day to tell him, oh, we're past our Gantt chart, or we haven't met our deliverables this week, etc. So you think there's a certain level of people skills and managerial skills that you
Yeah.
need. Not a lot of architects are very good with that, only because we're very, I would say, left-brained. So I think if you possess both skills, or if you're competent at both, then you could be great at that.
Yeah.
But it's very rare to find someone who's good at both.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. So, for the students out there, I'm sure marami kayong na-pick up. In fact, nabitin ako eh. It's been over an hour,
Yeah.
and we still have a lot to cover,
Yeah.
but time really flies when you're digesting a lot of information. So for the students out there and the newly grads, I think medyo masya-shorten na yung journey nyo given what our guests have shared. So before we close, any parting words or
To the
or messages?
students, I think it's just very important to be self-aware. Be self-aware so that it teaches you humility. What am I good at? What am I not so good at? What can I improve on? So self-awareness is very important. If you learn that early, you will be very successful in any industry, actually, not just in architecture. So that's what I would tell the students.
For me, find their niche while still in school. Sometimes it's hard to find it when you're still in school. So you have to be open to what they're teaching you in school. And even the way they handle the faculty, or the attitude of the faculty towards them. So I said, that's already a practice of real life.
Exactly.
Because you cannot please everybody. Treat your teachers as your client. So they may not be right, but that's what they want. So you have to please them. So it's already a practice. So take everything that you're experiencing in college. This is practice of real life.
Alright. Kailan kaya nila matuturo yung practice of real life in college?
Sa classroom ikaw.
Baka may part 2 tayo niyan, ha?
Sa mga crit.
Yeah, design
Yeah.
crits. But
Design
before,
crits.
with the design crits, parang very emotional pa sila when somebody
correct.
does it.
Yeah.
But now, since it's already a practice, they're open to it now.
Yes, they should be open. Teach it.
Yeah.
It makes you humble, I think.
Yeah.
So, and it helps you improve talaga. So,
True.
take
Alright.
it with a grain of salt.
Thank you very much,
Thank you.
Dean Nikki and Dean Chona. So
Thank
we have come to the end of our show. Again, ang bilis ng panahon. My partner Architect Alfred will be here next week. For those of you who are first time to join us, Archipreneur Kabahayan at Kabuhayan. Don't forget to like and subscribe our Facebook and YouTube channel. So until next week, I'll see you guys again. Have a great week ahead. Thank you.
ng lansangan, ikaw ay iingatan. Ihahatid ka ng ligtas sa iyong paroroonan. Protektado ka sa mga magigiting na tsuper. Umulan umaraw, masasandalan parang pader. Tayo'y babiyahe tungo sa kinabukasan. Malaya sa sakuna ang bawat daraanan. Ligtas na kalsada, malinaw na pag-asa. Sa BTS, ang partido ng mga bayaning tsuper. Bayanan ng lansangan, ikaw ay iingatan. Ihahatid ka ng ligtas sa iyong paroroonan. Protektado ka sa mga magigiting na tsuper. Umulan umaraw, masasandalan parang pader. Itaguyod ang kaayusan sa kalsada. Sasakay ka ng walang anumang pangamba. Karapatan ng mga tsuper ay isusulong. Mga programa na sa kanila'y makakatulong. Dahil kayo'y maituturing din na bayani. Maliit na kita, tuloy lang sa pagsisilbi. Maiangat ang ekonomiya sa ating lipunan. Tagapaghatid sa pag-unlad ng ating bayan. Tara na't umarangkada sa pag-unlad papunta. Sakay na at sumama sa BTS. Tayo'y babiyahe tungo sa kinabukasan. Malaya sa sakuna ang bawat daraanan. Ligtas na kalsada, malinaw na pag-asa. Sa BTS, ang partido ng mga bayaning tsuper. Bayanan ng lansangan, ikaw ay iingatan. Ihahatid ka ng ligtas sa iyong paroroonan. Protektado ka sa mga magigiting na tsuper. Umulan umaraw, masasandalan parang pader. Pagripaso at paggawa ng mga batas upang ang buhay natin ay umangat naman ng antas. Ang bayaning tsuper ay tayo ring mga Pilipino. Direksyon ng ating buhay, tayo ang nagmamaneho. Benepisyong nararapat ay hindi pagkakait. Solusyon ang tugon sa mga hinanaing. Sa ating biyahe ay walang ni isa ay maiiwan tungo sa maayos na kinabukasan ng ating bayan. Tara na't umarangkada sa pag-unlad papunta. Sakay na at sumama sa BTS. Tayo'y babiyahe tungo sa kinabukasan. Malaya sa sakuna ang bawat daraanan. Ligtas na kalsada, malinaw na pag-asa. Sa BTS, ang partido ng mga bayaning tsuper. Tayo'y babiyahe tungo sa kinabukasan. Malaya sa sakuna ang bawat daraanan. Ligtas na kalsada, malinaw na pag-asa. Sa BTS, ang partido ng mga bayaning tsuper. Tayo'y babiyahe tungo sa kinabukasan. Malaya sa sakuna ang bawat daraanan. Ligtas na kalsada, malinaw na pag-asa. Sa BTS, ang partido ng mga bayaning tsuper. Bayanan ng lansangan, ikaw